Hey, folks, if you want early access to episodes as they drop, click that subscribe button, join us, and together we'll fix the broken U.S. healthcare system. We'll see you on the next one.
Get ready to take control of your healthcare. Here's your host, Ray Kober.
And we're live. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Broken Healthcare. My name is Ray Kober. I am your host. And today I have in the studio a husband and wife team. Mike and Elizabeth Webb are innovators. They have an incredible new technology that helps us detect early detection of skin cancer. And you could do this with your own device. So I'm thrilled to have you all with us. Thank you. Welcome to the big show. And, I guess let's start with you, Dr. Webb.
Sure.
And it is Dr. Webb.
Oh, absolutely.
What do? You're handy with rusty nails, I hear?
Exactly. I do carpentry on the skin. No, I'm a board certified dermatologist and Mohs surgeon, and basically that means a skin cancer expert. Been in it for 30 years, and my practice has evolved into handling really advanced cases.
Got it. And so, when I think about the journey, it's such a commitment to be a physician, these days. And surgery is like another layer on top of that. As you're, kind of a kid growing up, is this something that's in your family? Do you think, hey, I'm going to be a doctor one day? When does that kind of hit you?
So as an undergraduate, I was a math major, naturally drawn to addressing problems, love solving it. My whole life ideology is the two must coexist. You can't have a problem without a solution. As I went through that training, I got into, and it came naturally to me. It was easy. I didn't have to do the homework. It just came naturally. But as I got into advanced mathematics in undergraduate, theory of statistics made me a non-believer anymore in that as a career. So
you got scared?
I got humbled by it. So I knew I liked problem solving and seemed to really enjoy people. And they said, you should consider a career in medicine. And I did a few rotations and fell in love with it and the whole concept. First physician in my family. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So just went from there.
And mom and dad are still with us?
No, they have passed.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah. So
did they get to see you go through medical school and all of that?
Saw the whole career journey.
Yeah.
Where we set up a practice.
They were very proud.
Yeah. I'm sure.
And Elizabeth was a big part of setting up the practice. We went out in 1997, took out a very large loan with a vision and an idea of being a completely paperless office from the outset. And in 97, that was novel and innovative. And so we led into that as we developed that platform. And it required a lot of teamwork, problem solving, and Liv's been there the whole way with that.
Wonderful.
So,
It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I mean, we did go to a brand new town, Florence, Alabama. Didn't know a single person, but he always had a vision, and we just plowed our way through, and it worked.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great story. So, in 97, I mean, you're talking almost 30 years now.
Yes.
that you've been doing this.
We did. We grew into satellites through North Alabama, and then gained the interest of private equity, and they came in and purchased our assets. And I'm in the last portion of my contract with them. During the 30 years of doing all this, I was a long distance runner. I have a left knee replacement, had a bicycle accident. After that, broke some vertebra. And so I'm looking.
Gee whiz.
But I'm looking to slow down on the big cases. For some reason, the large cases, and I'll talk a bit about access in a moment, have come into my office, and I'm sort of that guy, and I'm looking to do less of that. And that was the birth of an idea, and I'll let Liv explain what we're doing. She is the origin of this idea, and we've taken this pivot, and we think we have something really good to offer.
So folks. I definitely want to get to that, but you're not off the hook yet.
He's trying to pass it off.
So I want to understand, for youngsters that might be out there listening, all three of them, I want to understand,
Yes.
like, what is the process? What do you think is the most? I think I'm a believer, and you correct me if I'm wrong, that if you love it, if you love what you're studying, it makes the journey more. I don't want to say easier, but it makes it maybe more enjoyable, and that then fuels the fire, because you mentioned math.
Yes.
And math is a noble pursuit. It requires a lot of focus, a lot of intention, and I guess if you don't love it, at some point you're just like, well, what the hell am I doing? Right? So just like talk us through a little bit of that, like, did you know what you were signing up for when you signed up to be an MD? And then what was kind of the progression to go into surgery?
So the natural attraction to me was problem solving and helping people. And those two really are what fuel most of your good doctors through. They have a lot to offer intellectually. They have a lot to offer compassionately. And if you have those two characteristics, anything that medicine throws at you, including the high demands on your personal life, physical demands, and your workplace demands, you can really see through all of that. And it's not like work. I'm blessed, and the old saying goes, I don't feel like I've ever really worked a day in my life, because I love what I've done. And if you don't quit on your dreams, and it's easy to quit and give up and not believe in yourself, then you might not reach that ultimate goal for what you want. And if you don't believe in yourself, no one else will. And that's what if I was going to share anybody on that journey. So find whatever you believe in and go for it and be the best.
Right. Right. For sure. So that I couldn't agree more with that. Right. I think at the end of the day, you have to find and follow your bliss. And we're not all blessed, to maybe A, have the opportunity, and B, have the foresight. Sometimes we pick wrong. Like, so I shared with you, like, one of my regrets in life is not really pursuing a career in television production, filmmaking.
Right.
And I'm a little bit of a frustrated storyteller, which is where the podcast comes in. But I had an idea for really what in my mind would be like a good HBO series. And I'll share. Someone could steal this, by the way. Go ahead, knock yourself out. I'm getting up there in years. I just don't give a shit anymore. So the name of the show would have been Forked. And the idea is it's a play on this, right?
Yeah.
But it's the idea that in life you're presented with a fork in the road. Do I go left or do I go right? And sometimes the reward and the happiness is down the path that looks like fire and brimstone and thunders and tornadoes, and the easy path with the sunshine and the unicorns. That's not the right path to choose. But life is funny because you don't have the benefit of hindsight when you're at the fork in the road.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So you choose, medicine, and it ends, you just strike me as a very happy couple. You have a lot to be thankful for, but you also strike me as a happy guy. Like you see, and we just met one another. So for all I know, it's all falling apart.
No, you're on it.
But it seems like you're in a good spot.
Yeah.
And so help me understand, like, forget about the torture of med school and the grind that they put you through and the crazy, up all night, 36 hour.
It's real.
Yeah, I believe you.
Yeah.
And I hear they're not doing that, or they're not quite doing it as, as intense as they once were. And I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
For the most part. And you maybe want to chime in on that.
Oh, absolutely. No, back in the day, we literally worked 120 hours a week. We'd pull a 40-hour shift 3 times a week. I would wake up and my head would be on the notes, the soap notes with a pile of my drool where I fell asleep, and the nurses were just walking by. The nurses were nice enough to let him sleep. He's got a bunch coming in.
Right.
But again, it's all about outlook. You have the power to change, and you have the power to shape your perception. And if you stick with something and pivot and go towards the light, you will be well lit down
Yeah.
there. So
Yeah.
so even on the hardest days, you find ways to cope. And I am a very spiritual person. I would say God wouldn't give me these 8 admits right now if he didn't think I could handle it. And
Yeah.
I jump in and do it.
Right.
And then I learn from it and I'm better. So the next time it took maybe where it took 2.5 hours, it took 30 minutes or 45 minutes. So you learn. There's a lesson in everything.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it requires several core competencies and skill sets, right? To be an MD is one thing. To be a surgeon, I wouldn't think that everyone is, cut out equally to be a surgeon. You have to have a good set of hands, right?
You have to have some physical traits that help you manage the table side and the job that's in front of you, the duties. And then you have to be able to think on your feet because you're suddenly presented with something that needs an answer and the right answer fast. And you've got to be able to move efficiently and quickly and also guide your team because you can't do it alone. So it takes some leadership skills, some self-confidence, but also some awareness and the ability to absorb what's around you and at the moment. And it just was sort of a natural fit for me. I love it. I love working with my hands. I before I went into surgery, I tied flies for a hobby, for fly fishing, and everything about what I do, I love. And some things have changed, and it is in the healthcare system and how we're as providers, and my colleagues can attest to this as well. We're increasingly restricted in being able to do what we know is right for the folks as healthcare costs have gone up and it's beginning to get rationed out.
All right. So give me a fish story. What's the biggest trout you ever caught?
So actually it's in Montana, which we love to visit Montana frequently. And it was on the Madison River. And, I went with my son and we're sitting in the boat to push off on a drift fish and he catches a 22-inch brown.
Wow.
I'm just sitting there. We hadn't even left the launch. He just throws out and is testing and catches this. And so I think I'm going to have a great day.
Right.
And he's wearing me out catching the fish. And I'm getting more and more frustrated. And so I just throw my line out and pop a top on a beer. Well, there it is. It just hits. And that's what happens. And it was a great fight and great picks for it.
What's the line from A River Runs Through It? Did you see that with back in the day?
Oh, yeah.
He opens his basket and he looks at in his son's basket and he said, well, it looks like the Lord has blessed you today. Yeah. And then he opens his basket and I'm butchering this, but he says, the Lord has blessed me a little more.
Yeah.
His fish is bigger.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. That's a Feral Sam's story, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Good stuff. So, give me an idea. You mentioned when you're in the trenches, you're pulling like 3 40-hour shifts a week. What's a day in the life look like for you back then before where you are now? So, and give me a time frame. What years are we talking about?
We're in the early 90s, anywhere from 90 to 97, 96. They had not passed resident education reform yet. They did put a cap on the number of hours. So you were taught that a question is a sign of weakness. You can do this and handle it. And that's very old school ideology. But you would wake up 3:30 or 4:30, go do pre-rounds on patients. You may have anywhere from 8 to 20 on your service, depending what service you're on. You have to know every detail that's occurred during the last 24 hours, including the latest test results. Sometimes, depending on your environment, you have to go acquire those labs, depending on what level you are in education, whether you're an intern, resident, or a fellow. And you better be prepared because at 8 o'clock, the attending's coming in and he does rounds with you. You don't know what he's going to ask or when he's going to ask about anything, but you better be prepared. And if you're not, you'll get properly dressed at all levels and you'll not make that mistake again. But then the last bit is when the attending turns and you're through with rounds and he'll give you that didactic lesson. This is why we're doing what we're doing. And although this result is this. So that's why at that time, that's how you learned. And then you were expected to increase more autonomy by the time you went through that whole program. You're working any number of hours a week. Usually it was about 100 to 120, pulling call shifts, which depending on whatever service, you may not get a minute's sleep during that time. And that's what prompted a lot of change. People's decision-making abilities were not as sharp as they were when they came in on a new shift.
Right.
So they changed all that. And then at the end, you get to say, I'm a resident trained board certified physician.
Right.
Yeah. And
right.
the way it works is in licensures, you pass some written tests, and you can say I'm a doctor, and you're allowed to practice heart surgery if you're just a student, but no one's going to give you privileges. And so that's how the bureaucracy, and you may be familiar with all this.
Yeah.
So I would say for your audience, board certification does mean a very high level of performance that has been witnessed on testing to be distinctive, and also a very high level of actual experience. And so when we are rationing healthcare, I'm a big proponent of board certification. And I'm biased, I went through it, but I've also seen when you're not, you don't have a lot of those lessons from experience that you can apply quickly and readily to arrive at the best outcome for your patients.
Got it. Fascinating. And so, Elizabeth, are you dating at this point? Are you married at this
We
point?
were newlyweds.
Newlyweds.
So we married in between Mike's second and third year of medical school.
Okay.
So I was with him during the clinicals. Oh, he did his clinicals in Tuscaloosa, and I was in law school.
Okay.
So it was perfect. We were both studying, working, and we really had a great time. And then we moved to Birmingham when he did his residency, his internship, and that's when things got really serious for him.
Well,
And he lost a lot of weight. He never slept. Like, he was really skinny.
I did. I
Even
dropped
skinnier.
30 pounds in about 3 months, just from the load that's was put on you as an intern at that time.
and you must have been saying, like, my man's never here.
Well, I was really busy as well. I was
Right.
a brand new lawyer working for a judge in an internship, and so I was super busy. And then we had a baby. So there was a lot of
Wow.
moving pieces at the time.
That's a lot.
And looking back on it, it was a lot of work, but it was really, we had a great time because we had each other,
Yeah.
and we were both in the trenches.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't trade it. I wouldn't trade it.
So you're the dynamic duo. You're quite the couple.
Well, and I was actually in labor when he was doing his a rotation at the VA.
Let's see you do that, Mike.
And
it was
his resident boss wouldn't
Yeah.
even let him come
Oh, no,
to the delivery.
yeah, we had an elevated discussion about some priorities at that
He
time.
ended up showing up, so it worked out.
I think I would have showed up too, for sure.
Good times.
So let me, we kind of met over a call virtually, and it was the first time I had heard about, what you do and your solution. And I think I shared with you at that time, this kind of strikes a personal chord with me because I lost my dad shortly after my second birthday to lung cancer. But then my mom in 1993 to malignant melanoma, and she had vaginal melanoma. So she was just shy of her 70th birthday when she passed. I guess she was diagnosed probably, I don't recall exactly, but let's say age 66, 67, something like that. And she didn't know she had a problem until she was bleeding from down there, and she hadn't been bleeding from down there in quite a while. And so I guess the first thing that I'd like to share with the audience is go and, get screened, because had my mom had an annual, and I don't even know what the, what the guidelines are right now. I know it varies and it changes, but had my mom been screened regularly and had a PAP, it could have saved her life, because you can speak to this, Dr. Webb, but early detection is really critical when it comes to skin cancer. And, when they went in, the OBGYN who performed the surgery said it was just a mess. And it was, of course, it, then spread through the cell wall and went to other parts of the body. And at that point, you're really kind of fighting the odds, right? And your odds are long.
Right.
And so then later, I transitioned to my first career in the insurance industry with Aflac, and they have an incredible cancer product. And it's really about financial protection because the out-of-pocket costs associated with treating cancer are so astronomical. So I had a chord that resonated with me, and I think it really fueled my success because for me personally, I have to not only love what I do, I have to be passionate about what I do. Otherwise, like
Kindred spirits.
it's not worth it, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And so that there's really like a strong connection for me with cancer and, particularly with melanoma. So when I heard about what you guys have achieved and pioneered, it's really quite remarkable. And so, perhaps we could start with you, Dr. Webb. Just talk about the importance, talk a little bit about the disease, the numbers, the statistics,
Yes.
what the risk is, and then what the significance of early detection is.
So, skin cancer is the most common cancer, and there's two major types: non-melanoma and then melanoma. And then and those comprise 96% of all skin cancer that develops. The other 4% are also very aggressive, like melanoma. For example, Merkel cell carcinoma is what Jimmy Buffett died from, but it's not necessarily a bad diagnosis because Terry Bradshaw caught his early and he survived it. So, but the most part, non-melanoma skin cancer grows slowly, very common, can be disfiguring if it's left unattended, and be expensive to treat as you extirpate the tumor and then reconstruct the defects. So catching it early for non-melanoma skin cancer has a big impact. 1 out of 5 people will develop a non-melanoma skin cancer. And then on the flip side of that is melanoma, which is also a relatively common tumor. There's a 1 in 32 lifetime risk of someone developing melanoma. Risk factors are obvious. There's been a terrific public awareness campaign, and I'll address that in a second. But sun, ultraviolet light exposure is the number one cause, and then a family history of it also, depending on your absorption of ultraviolet light, which you're genetically coded through fair skin, light eyes. They are also at a higher risk. So there are many occupations that are at increased risk because they spend the majority of their lifetime out under the sun with varying degrees of protection. So awareness.
Can I just stop you there for a second?
Sure.
So I also, you hear all sorts of conflicting information, and the media has a lot to do with this. And, there's science, there's pseudoscience, and then there's the media, right?
Exactly.
And so you correct me if I'm wrong, but my position, based on what I know and what I've learned, is that sun exposure is not truly the smoking gun. In fact, it's good to have sun exposure over the majority of your body. It produces vitamin D. Vitamin D helps you produce cholesterol. Cholesterol is essential for the function of all cells. And so it's not that sun exposure is bad per se, but you don't want to sit out there on tinfoil and bake yourself. Am I on the right track there?
You're 100% right. It's become fashionable to be tan, and then some folks don't really protect their skin. They don't pay attention. Your skin, you get a sunburn because your skin's reacting to say, this is horrible. Don't do this to me. But you're right.
Have you ever seen Tan Mom?
Yes, I have. I love Howard Stern, by the way.
He's the OG. Yeah.
But to answer your question directly, look at me. I'm out all the time. I work on my farm. We have a 350-acre tree farm. I'm out there working on it. I play golf, fish.
Right.
I walk outdoors. I wear a hat. I use long sleeves when I can. I put sunscreen on an hour before I go out. All of those things are helpful.
Qualify sunscreen, though, because I think there's stuff that you can put on your skin thinking that you're doing good, protecting yourself, and you're actually introducing poisons and toxins. And so what are the guidelines? What should people look for when they slather something on their skin?
So there's a couple of things. Most things that are FDA approved have already been rigorously tested, both clinically and in the lab and on people, and they're safe. They do not promote skin cancer, and that's a big myth that's being promulgated because it's a sensational idea that somehow public has been victimized by big big companies, corporations with bad products. You must use it properly. It doesn't work if it's in the bottle. And but
no.
But the other thing is, if you'll put it on an hour before you go out, it will absorb in. And I see patients come through, they're getting into their tractor, or they're going onto the first tee, or they're going out to the tennis court.
Yeah.
And they're wiping it on right as they're going out. In 5 minutes, they've wiped it off with their towel as they're perspiring and whatever they do.
Right.
Let it absorb in, and it will achieve what it needs to. Most people don't understand SPF. You really don't need an SPF above 30 or even 50. That number, which stands, or that acronym, sun protective factor, means how many times you can stay in the sun before you get sunburned with it than you would without. So if it takes you 10 minutes to get a sunburn, then it'll take 300. And that is key for people to understand, because if you're fair skinned and blue eyed, you're going to get sunburn faster. You're getting more energy in. So all of these things will keep you in good shape.
Are you saying God hates the Irish? Only kidding. I'm a quarter Irish.
Yes.
Quarter Irish, quarter German, half Italian.
Yeah, we're very similar in makeup. And no, it's just one of those things. What where folks came and how their skin was selected for the areas in which they originate in, and how much sun exposure. So
got it. So let me just ask you, without this is not a paid endorsement. Is there a specific product that you use?
The ones I like best are those that go on easy, non-greasy, and they work and stay. I'm a big fan of Neutrogena.
Okay.
Dry Touch, 30 to 50 is perfect.
Okay.
I like the creams. The lotions are good for like arms and hair. The spray is not the best. It has to do with the vehicle and the staying power of getting what you need there. If you're someone who's sensitive to some of the products that are in them, use an inert chemical compound like zinc oxide or titanium oxide. You've seen it. It's the sort of purplish. They're purplish and sometimes yellow or neon colored to try to get the young people into them.
Yeah.
But those are physical blockers, and they just reflect ultraviolet light completely. Go into a whole dissertation on sunscreen, but I know that's not why we're here.
No. It's really it is. Listen, we have time, and this is really kind of like a public interest story. Like, folks need to know this stuff.
Well, the risk factors. If you can stay out of the sun, you're going to mitigate your risk for skin cancer, including deadly melanoma. The tanning industry got away with it back in the 80s and 90s. That was a big money-making operation, and somehow they've avoided extensive litigation against them. I always thought that they were going to get nailed the way the tobacco industry did,
right?
Because their data was terrible. They were suggesting in some ways it wasn't carcinogenic, cancer causing, and but we've learned now, and they've sort of have backed off, and it's gone down quietly. So
I don't think there are any tanning salons anywhere that I can even think of.
We still have one in Florence.
Do you really?
Not us personally.
Right. Okay. Gotcha.
But there are suntan cities.
There are.
How about red light therapy? Is that safe, or there are folks now, and these are $100,000 plus beds, and they're talking about the medicinal value of red light.
I think it's to be determined yet. I haven't seen anything that says that it is harmful.
Okay.
Or convincingly. Yet.
Right.
So I think that's still to be determined with longer term
jury's
studies.
still out.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. Cool. No, I really appreciate that. That's how. And so if you're on a beach, if you're at a pool, if you're on a boat, and you're in and out of the water, you got to reapply this stuff, or does it absorb in, and are you okay?
So it will last. And again, most sunscreens, when properly applied, will last several hours. Again, if they go on right before they go out, they're coming right off with the first sweat before they've penetrated. If you come in and out of water a lot and you're rubbing yourself off with a towel, whatever residual is on you, you're going to need to reapply.
Got
So
it.
it's good to put some back on if you come out of the water, but you still have a tremendous amount of protection if you put it on an hour before you go out.
All right.
It's getting where it needs to be.
Really appreciate that. So now that we understand a little bit more about skin protection, what do folks need to be cognizant of? With what type of regularity or frequency should someone like me who does enjoy being out, I am on a boat, I am, fishing, I get outdoors as much as I can. In New York City, it's harder to do it, all year round, but, I'm going to say from May to November, I'm out as much as I possibly can. How often should I get checked?
So that's a great question, Ray. I support the American Academy's position of dermatology that people should have a routine skin exam, a complete skin exam where you're looked from stem to stern once a year by a qualified professional.
Mm-hmm.
But your best intervention is you and the people you have at home, and you should look at your skin once a month and not more than that, not more frequently, because you won't appreciate changes or new spots. So if you look over your loved ones, or say, hey, I don't remember that spot being there, that's how you win at this game. Every melanoma starts off with a 99% cure rate when you see it in its earliest stage,
Right.
and it's $800 to fix for all of our people who have self-funded programs. It's an easy in-office fix. In a matter of 6 to 10 to 12 months, that tumor's growing sideways and then turns down towards blood vessels, and those cells are very hard to cure, and they'll jump on the blood vessel highways and go to other places, lymph nodes, heart, lung, brain, and then the horse is out of the barn.
Yeah.
And there's new therapies that can help that. But it goes from a 99% cure rate when it goes to a lymph node down to roughly 70%. When I say cure rate, I'm saying 5-year survival, which means this is the percentage of people who will be alive at 5 years.
Right.
So if it goes to the lymph node, it drops down to 70%. And if it gets into distant organs, you're looking between 30 and 40%. And that's at 5 years. The demise is still a little bit higher than that. At 10 years, it'll drop down even further. So.
And there's a scale, Clark's level.
There is a Clark's level, and the prognosis when that correlates the strongest to 5-year survival is something that even better. It's just thickness of the tumor, not the level at which it is in the skin, but the tumor thickness, called a Breslow thickness, and that is the most significant correlation of prognosis at time of discovery. So what we see, and the same holds true for non-melanoma skin cancer, is if you catch this early and small, the cure rates are way, way higher. And if you catch it early and small, the surgical requirements, the complexity is way easier and way less expensive and smaller and more effective. When you wait unnecessarily, and there's a reason people wait, and I can go into that in just a moment.
I could answer that. Stupidity.
Well, yeah. Well, it is. It's something, and this is good. This is a good time for me to introduce this. Appraisal delay is a very real phenomenon, and what happens is, and I'm going to explain this to you. And this I think most of your listeners will find interesting because they haven't thought about it. But when somebody encounters a new spot on themselves, the first thing they're saying is, "I'm not sure. I don't know if this is something that I need to be concerned about or not." And to get it checked out means they have to take time off of work. They have to pay for a dermatology visit. And it might not be anything. 4 out of 5 spots that people present to their dermatologist or show me, and this is in medical literature, are benign spots and okay. They just happen to be an age spot or something that's new. So they're not concerned yet if they need to go in. So they wait and watch for symptoms to develop. And those symptoms only develop when it's had a time for that Breslow thickness to be much, much thicker and the prognosis much worse. So my message is, and what we're trying to do, is if you see a spot, then have it checked out. But people don't. They've known for years. And we've had terrific public awareness campaigns from the American Academy of Dermatology, the Skin Cancer Foundation. And it's introduced, if you ask anybody, hey, if you see a new spot, should you have it checked? 95% of people said, absolutely. If it's skin cancer, you want to catch it early. But only a small percentage will actually think to get over that appraisal delay to see if it's significant. So that sort of piles into what we've seen here. And this was Elizabeth's idea. And I'm going to let you tell a moment about how you came up with the story behind how we have discovered from going to a point solution to a whole platform that we think is something new.
Yeah, that'd be great. Well, you've been very, very patient and quiet.
No, he knows a lot about what he's talking about, and I recognize that. I mean, he's the subject matter expert. So,
But was this your brainchild though, or who thought of this?
well, this is the origin story. This is how this came about. So we live in a small town,
Yep.
but we've been there for 30 years, and we know pretty much a good majority
You know
of the
everybody.
people there. Like, I can't go anywhere without seeing somebody I know, and I love that about my town.
Yeah.
So I could be at Walmart or at church or anywhere, and people would come up to me and say, "Hey, like, can you look at this spot? Like, I have called your husband's office, and they told me it's going to be weeks or months before I can get in." And I would be like, "Okay, I'm a people pleaser."
Yep.
So I'll be like, "Yeah, well, let me just take a picture of that, or take a picture of it and send it to me." And then I would, after we'd had dinner and a glass of wine or whatever, I'd
Look
say,
at this.
Much
Say-
grumbling from me too. I was like,
yes,
"Oh,
because
not
he's like,
another
I've been
one."
working all day. And so
That's
he
so
would
fun.
take
You're
a-
definitely married.
but I would like butter him up. And so he would say, "Oh, that looks concerning. Let's work her in tomorrow. Or just tell her that's okay, but keep an eye on it, because, things can change."
Sure.
Well, that really worked well. They loved it.
Mm.
And so it kept happening more and more and more, which I was happy to oblige, and so was he. So during COVID, when everybody became used to telemedicine and used to, being on a video with a physician, I was like, we should try to make this an app. Like, this is a great idea. Cell phone cameras are so good these days. You can take beautiful pictures on them. People are comfortable with telemedicine. So that's when we sat down, hired a developer, and got busy.
Yeah,
And that's
and-
how CheckMySpot was born, because the people in my community thought I was like a pseudo dermatologist.
They really did. The one of the beautiful things of it is that people will say, "Well, how can you really tell from a picture on a spot?" And in dermatology, we're a visual field, but we achieve our board certification by 2 pictures shown to us, and then we have to respond to a myriad of very intense questions. So we're comfortable with that idea, and it began to dawn on me, what I'm doing when I respond to these text message pictures is I'm doing the same thing if they showed it to me in the clinic. That's okay. We don't need to worry about it. Keep an eye on it.
Yep.
Or, oh, no, come in right away. Well, that was the birth of I didn't realize that what we thought was a point solution is now sort of a system level innovation in what we call a direct access platform. And I've learned that as we were able to amplify this with what's in everybody's cell phone or back pocket, we're able to get them a professional opinion immediately and have a triage service to get them to definitive treatment within weeks. And Ray, if we had something like this, or your mother was aware of it and was comfortable, if she saw any spot, or even if she was at her GYN exam and they were saying, "Well, I'm not sure what this spot is," having access to specialty care, who's board certified, that can give that opinion and say, "You've got an issue, let's get it in quickly," because it makes a tremendous difference
Right.
in outcomes.
Yeah, and what strikes me is part of the issue with healthcare and the broken healthcare system that we have now today is access to care is abysmal. In New York City, here, if I want to schedule, well, I've actually recently switched to a direct primary care physician. But prior to that, had I wanted to schedule a visit with my primary care physician, in depending upon when I looked at the calendar, it sometimes was a 6-month wait for a policy that, we're probably paying between us and my wife's employer at the time, I don't know, $30,000 to $40,000 a year.
Right.
That's just not good.
Mm-mm.
And if we were talking about something that's life or death, and melanoma is life or death, you want access a little bit quicker than that.
Took
Yeah.
6
Right.
months. for
And
sure.
and yeah, and if you're in a plan that requires, your primary care physician to be your quarterback, and the insurance company won't pay unless there's a referral.
Exactly.
You're talking about really the difference between someone living and dying.
Yeah.
And so that's what when I, spoke to you guys and I talked to you about what you've created, I'm a huge fan because you're saving lives. It really, like, I can't, there's no other way to describe it. If you can help someone catch this early, you're potentially saving their life and causing them. I mean, I think that's really what it's all about. But you're also saving them from potentially a financial catastrophe.
Exactly. And we have two value propositions. So part of the problem in getting access is that the people who have the benign lesions have to go to the clinic to find that out. But with CheckMySpot, we can filter those out using the app. And then they don't have to go to the clinic, which frees up space for the more serious lesions. So we're moving the patients that need prompt care to the front of the line. And so that's how we're solving the access problem.
Got it.
Yeah.
With high quality dermatology.
Yeah. So authorizations, referrals, even the geography, like folks there's dermatology deserts across the country. But the cell phone covers those areas. 97% of people, 97% of people are in an area that, or 97% of people, let me say this correctly, have cell phone service access. 85% of the geographic U.S. has smartphone, cell phone technology access. 77% of people over 65 have a cell phone and know how to use it. And that creates a tremendous asset that's being underutilized for triaging care.
Right.
So when we came up, we didn't really realize it. We thought we were just doing something small on skin cancer. This whole concept, I mean, for the trends in healthcare, as I researched this further, where it went from disease management to wellness care to point solutions, we're providing a systematic level innovation that says we're going to broaden you from self-discovery with all of this great points of contact in the public at large to treatment care in a specialized setting. I see if this were widely adopted in all specialties, including direct primary care, which is beautiful, all of these, it's a method and a way to cross geography and boundaries to bring people to better outcomes. And what's beautiful about this is everybody wins.
Yeah.
The patients get peace of mind immediately, or they get put front of the line for treatment. The major payers will have claims that are less expensive and can avoid and mitigate catastrophic claims for advanced melanomas. And the new therapies are great. Don't get me wrong. The research dollars are great with all the new therapies, but they're $500,000 plus for a course of therapy that still has a 45% 5-year survival. If we were to put this on the front end and take a preventive look at this, we're looking at a 99% survival with less than $1,000 for that point of treatment care.
Wow.
So that's the thing that I want to get, and moving the needle in healthcare. And this is why I really salute you for what you're doing. This is terrific.
I'll pay you later.
No, I mean it sincerely. And that's why we flew up from Alabama, because it's a big honor for me to sit here in your studio. And I researched and listened to several of your episodes. And I was like, Ray's on it. He's trying to move this needle in the best way possible, which is introduce ideas where we can get change from within to come around and get people to see a better way of doing things.
Yeah.
And I really think that you're doing some great work. And I know there are others like you out there, and I've seen your guests, and they're all aligned. And it's very refreshing for me as a provider who I beat my head against the wall. Tuesday, I had someone who couldn't get in, and this was the size of their skin cancer sitting on top of their head.
Oh my God.
And
that's a true story?
It's a true story. It's
story.
Tuesday, and I got a few of those waiting for me when I get back tomorrow. And
I'd rather not believe the fish story than that.
No, I promise. And the sad element is that was a squamous cell carcinoma, and his access was a problem, geography and awareness, but mostly geography. but it had invaded into his skull.
Folks, for
already.
those of you who are listening, he held up a coaster that was probably 4 or 5 inches
Yeah.
across. It's huge.
This is what I see on a weekly basis, 2, 3, 4 of these cases, and I am just it's become a legacy mission for me. If I can get my colleagues and if I can do something alongside of like-minded folks like yourself, Ray, and whoever's listening, particularly in corporations in the business world that are self-funding and are really the ones who, self-funded corporations, in my opinion, among others, are the ones who are paying for all of this, the majority of them.
Yeah.
And that's where the change can occur. And if there are hidden costs in their book for skin cancer, because what I demonstrated with that squamous cell carcinoma, and they're not reported. So unless they really get down and break down their ICD-10s and their CPTs, they won't know how much they're saving. But when I've done an RVU breakdown on this, and we had your guest Al Lewis from the Validation Institute, who's terrific.
Love Al.
Yeah, well,
Shout out to Al.
Spot on. He said this is great.
Yeah.
And it was like not just a breath of fresh air. It was a hurricane of fresh air to come in and go, okay, finally, I feel like someone's getting what I've been trying to do.
Yeah. So, folks, for those of you that don't know Al Lewis is, he's like a giant in the industry. He's a Harvard-trained lawyer, taught economics at Harvard, competed on Jeopardy, but lost. Sorry, Al, you lost. But lost to like the grandest champion of all time. And he laughs about it now. And he lost he lost because, get this, a professor of economics at Harvard couldn't do math in final Jeopardy. True story. So what I love about Al, though, is he's just acquired a company that he was associated with for many years called the Validation Institute. And the Validation Institute, for any advisors, brokers that might be listening, they actually put a product through its paces, and they check to see if the company's claim actually holds water. It's as simple as that. Here's what you're saying your product or your service does in terms of the physicality of it, if that's a component of it. And then they look at the math on the savings, because at the end of the day, right, you have to kind of analyze, if you're a payer, like, how much am I going to spend? And does it make sense to spend that? What's the ROI? Mm-hmm. What's the return on investment? Right. Business 101, right? And the Validation Institute really kind of does all the hard work for us, so that you can read a report, and, if a company is validated, and they have different levels of validation, you can easily, just kind of reading a report, figure out if this is an organization that is walking the walk, or are they just talking the talk?
Right.
And so really they do a phenomenal job. And it's one of the first things that I look for as a healthcare consultant is I will go to the Validation Institute website. I'll download a report on any solution provider that I'm looking, for potentially working or partnering with. And that is a part of my process. And so it's encouraging to me that you are validated, because that just tells me that I know that a team of dedicated, highly professional folks who do this for a living prove the math.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and it's important for us to be bringing in something new as we're going, because, the old phrase, you never get fired if you hire IBM, back in the day.
Yeah, I've heard that before.
Yeah. And so as you're bringing something new, having someone independent take a look at it is very helpful. I really would love for my colleagues to jump on board and to see this also. And I've spoken with them, and they love the idea, but when you get into the business part of it, they're so worried this is going to cannibalize or take business away from them. And I'm like, absolutely not. One of our value propositions to dermatologists are and I'd love for them to license the product themselves. Do this yourself while you're drinking a cup of coffee. When you look at a picture, you can tell in 15 to 30 seconds, what you're going to need to do, what it is and what you're going to need to do if you don't. And I would love for them to license it. And it as in all things in medicine, are a lot slower to adopt. And I think many are getting the point, and they're also eager to hear more. And the more forward thinking are saying this is a great way to intervene for better outcomes, better cost efficiency, and everybody wins in this scenario.
Cool. Episode of Broken Healthcare Podcast is brought to you by Benefixa Healthcare Consultants. Visit benefixa.com to learn what's possible. Reduce the cost of healthcare for your organization, deliver better outcomes for your people, and yes, design health plans that give your people a path to $0 out-of-pocket costs for healthcare. Visit benefixa.com today. So getting back to you, Elizabeth, you had this idea. You had a couple of friends that you had take, selfie of their skin tag or whatever it might have been. And you talk to your old man and you're like, look at this.
That's right. It's a
Look
great
at this.
idea.
What is it?
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, am I, 120 hours a week,
And I
121
still
now?
have to work at night.
Right?
Right.
So tell folks a little bit about the actual experience, and we could fast forward to now, because I'm sure there might have been a little bit of an evolution, but how does it work? You do what?
CheckMySpot?
Yes, please.
Okay, so all you do is you go to the Apple or the Google Play Store and you download the app for free.
CheckMySpot.
Check
No
My Spot.
spaces, one chunk.
string.
Check
Just
my spot.
CheckMySpot all run together.
Yep.
And you put it on your phone. Make sure you have the latest version, because occasionally we do updates. And
Okay.
it's always good to make sure you have the latest version.
Yep.
And then you just enter your personal information,
Yep.
which is like your name, your address, and you answer. You also list your dermatologist if you have one.
Yep.
So that's important, because
Yeah.
that goes into the not cannibalizing people's patients. If you have a dermatologist, we want you to go see your dermatologist.
Yep.
So you answer about 6 questions about your history with skin cancer. Do you have blue eyes, blonde hair? How many sunburns have you had? Just general things that give us an idea of your risk for cancer.
Yep.
And then you do have to share your location. And that's just so that we stay in line with the telemedicine regulations about licensing,
Yep.
because the physician has to be licensed in the state where the user is.
Yep.
So some people don't like to share their locations, but this is the only reason we ask for it.
Sure.
It's a requisite.
Yep.
Exactly. And then once you do that, it's really important to watch the 90-second video on how to take a good picture.
Okay.
Because without a good picture, it the screener's not going to be able to tell as well.
Right.
So a lot of people like to skip that, but we encourage you to watch the video.
Great point.
And then you take a close-up picture and a location picture, like a far away one, so that you'll have like a body reference. So you'll know left, right, and you mark it on the body diagram.
Yep.
And then enter, if you don't have a coupon code, enter your payment details, push submit. It's probably like a 5 to 6 minute total, maybe 10 if
Experience.
you're older like me and need a little bit more time with technology. And then within 24 hours, you get a case summary report, which tells you exactly whether it's benign and you don't need to worry about it. But we do say keep an eye on it. Your picture's archived in your phone. If it changes, you can pull it up, take another picture, make a comparison. And then if it's worrisome or indeterminate, then that's when our second arm of our value proposition takes over. And we say, okay, we're going to get you an appointment in the next 7 days.
Mm-hmm.
And if you listed your dermatologist, we're going to send the referral there. And if you didn't, then we have a way to find the nearest board-certified dermatologist near you, and we send the referral there. And then they reach back out, get that appointment scheduled, and you're in business.
Wow.
Some of our forward-thinking colleagues we have preferred referral site partners, and they're like, yeah, I'd love to take unattached. If you go to see a preferred referral site partner, they have agreed to schedule you within a week. You must be compliant with their own financial policies, et cetera. We don't have a financial relationship to them to stay compliant with Stark laws and that sort of thing.
Right.
But they'll get you in and get you on the path to immediate treatment with much better outcomes at a cost savings to everyone.
Interesting. So I knew you were coming here, and I actually had a dermatology appointment for skin screening scheduled, and your visit kind of made it top of mind.
Yeah.
I will say, for the record. So I do have that coming up, but I noticed something on my arm that I wasn't too crazy about. I said,
Right.
this looks a little suspicious to me. It was a little dry. And, I went through the app experience. And what I'll tell you is it was a piece of cake.
Oh.
Now, but with an asterisk. And the asterisk is not on you guys. It's, in my case, it was located like above my right tricep, and it was
Right.
very tough for me
Yes.
to get like a
Location photo.
great picture.
Yep.
And I did it during the day when I had a million things
Yep.
going on. So, but honestly, I probably would have taken the time to make it a better picture. But as an experiment, I said, let's see what they come back with a not so great picture.
Yeah.
Right.
So I don't know if you can even talk about it, if it's licensing and blah, blah, blah. But if you looked at what I sent, but for the record, I just want to say the process was pretty easy. Like,
We tried to make it as easy as possible.
Yeah,
Because if
the-
it's not easy, people aren't going to
No,
use it.
the UX is very important. And we do have tips for tough locations. On those, we recommend a second person taking the photograph, or pop it in the mirror. Turn and look at your back in a selfie on a mirror, and then all we need to know with that location photograph
Right.
is right from left, or where is it? Is it above your elbow, below your elbow? And this is so that the job is easier for our referral partners or your own dermatologist to go in and say, this is the spot, the exact spot that they were concerned about.
right.
And that is a limiting part of the thing, is that we're not asking to supplant all, like, we can't do a complete skin exam in this
Right.
with this fact.
Sure.
It's for when someone discovers it. And what we want people to do, and we want, if you're a corporation and you have employees and if you have 1,000 member group, 30 to 50 of them are going to have a non-melanoma skin cancer in 1 year. 3 to 5 are going to have a melanoma in that population. How great is it to mitigate your risk for a catastrophic claim on your plan, to say, okay, employees, we want you to use this service. Look each other over and send it in. And this is what was validated in the cost savings. Higher utilization is higher cost savings.
Right.
Greater risk mitigation. You've got your employees are right there. Encourage them, help, use, look, and then come in with anything that you see that you might not have been aware of. But it starts by looking, and so to come back to your point about a location photograph, we make our diagnosis really off of that macro photograph, which is usually pretty easy. But we got to have that location photograph for two reasons. One, we want to make sure that when we refer this in, that specific spot is the one that recipient physician is being aware as to the issue. Exactly.
Right.
And then the second is, sometimes people circle one and then there's something really bad beside it. And that big fat, hey, listen,
Right.
what you're showing me is okay, but you got to get in because you got a bad spot over beside it.
Wow.
And they think they say, well, that's been there for a year. I said, I know, but it's not a good spot. So,
Right.
and that's happened, incidental findings where we see stuff in that location photograph. And
Yeah.
that's our standard in dermatology. When we're tested, we see two photographs. It's usually a location or distribution, and then we get a macro photograph of what the process is occurring.
Right.
And the cameras are good enough to represent that now.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
And so that was going to be my kind of, you stole my thunder. Like, have someone, like I would have had my wife take that
Yes.
shot, or your son or your daughter, who
Right.
your cat or your dog. Just
Get to know.
so exactly. You need that clear, crisp shot. It would be best
we do.
for that perspective.
I did recognize the name Ray Kober when it came through yesterday. So I said, okay, Ray's testing me. Normally, if I couldn't tell on that macro photograph,
Yep.
we have something that says resubmit. And it's a feature where the reviewer will punch in a paragraph and say, hey, I need this location photograph, have someone else take it, or do it in a mirror. Or it's blurry.
Right.
Rest your hand on a tabletop or rest your hand on your arm while you're snapping the photograph. All these photographic tips that we can give when the submission doesn't meet the standard that our provider is comfortable issuing a disposition on.
Got it.
So that's part of the process too. I knew we were coming today. I was going to say,
We were just going to fuss at you.
I
for
know
your
I'm being
picture a little
tested.
blurry.
So I stole your thunder. So have has the guidance changed on what to excise? And the reason that I ask is I went to a dermatologist several years ago, and they removed several things. One was, I think, a basal cell carcinoma, if I have that right.
Mm-hmm.
And it was nothing to it, or dysplastic nevus, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, thank God, knock on wood, they did their work, and that was the end of it. And I think that's probably the majority of these, right? But then I went back, and I don't know if it was just because because they went to town on me. Like, they probably did, I don't know, say like half a dozen or 8 excisions.
Really?
And there was only one that was kind of dysplastic nevus. Then I went back, and I think they said, kind of the guidance changed, and they're not cutting as much. I don't know if this is like an AMA thing, or if this is their practice made a decision to pivot, or so. And I don't want to put you on
I can tell by your face
I
that
know,
you're like thinking about how to answer this.
This is
We're putting Dr. Webb on the
my
spot.
diplomacy hat.
Yeah.
When the physician still is in control of when is it time to biopsy and when is it not. And then the next step is, do we biopsy based off what we see on the pathology report? And the category, and a lot of the pathologists who are good will say this one has a moderate degree of atypia. The recommendation for and a dysplastic nevus is a very complicated issue, but it's a mole that sort of looks abnormal to the clinician's eye. And then when they look at it under the microscope, it has a few abnormal features, but not enough to call it a melanoma.
Mm-hmm.
And the question then is this a pre-melanoma? Is this thing evolving into a melanoma or not? We don't have an answer for that question. But we do know that if it has a certain percentage of those features, who cares what the answer is? It's better for the patient's mental well-being, and also better because it can't do anything if it's in a bottle to get it off of them.
Right.
So that's where we are in the state of it. So when there's variability, it comes in, what's that clinician's threshold? And so my advice for listeners is use someone who does a lot of this, who has seen a lot of these, board certified, in my opinion. Again, I'm biased. I'm going to say there's plenty of non-board certified physicians who are excellent.
Right.
But if you want to know someone who's met the standard, that's the term that you want to look for.
Right.
When it comes to excising them, a lot of pathologists will weigh in, and because they're on the hook for liability too. If they're missing something, or it's only been represented in a portion of the sections they've examined under the microscope, they'll say we recommend complete excision. And then it gets into this issue from a reimbursement standpoint. It could be malignant, it might not be, but they're going to pay for it as if it's benign, obviously.
Got it.
Yeah, and so there is a risk and a liability assumption that goes on the physician and the pathologist, and that sort of guides the decision that a pathologist and a clinician or surgeon make when they're deciding, do we cut this out or do we watch it? Personally, I'll tell folks, I'll say, look, here's your 2 choices. You can watch and wait. There's no clear indication this is cancer. There's no evidence that it's becoming cancer.
Right.
Well, tell me what you want. Is this something you're going to worry about every day and watch it every day if it's changing? If it is, let's put it in a bottle and forget about it. It takes 10 minutes to do it. And
Right.
I think if you hear that message, stay with that person, because that's what is in your best interest and most for your well-being. That's your champion of well-being.
When in doubt, cut it out.
No, not at all. There's times where I'll say that's perfectly okay, and they say, well, what if it's not? And I'll say, we'll know in plenty of time before, And again, it's an assessment. If this is someone who's careless and is in there because their wife cut the kitchen pass on them, said you're not having dinner until you go in and get that.
Yep.
Then I'll say, look, but you better get this cut out, or you're not gonna have a great life at home. If someone says, you know what, I really hate surgery, I'm worried about a scar on my cheek, I said, okay, well, let's watch, because it's not going to change the extent of what's necessary to fix it if you will watch it closely, and if you will make your follow-up appointment with me so I can compare what I see at follow-up with the photograph. That's something that can be done on CheckMySpot also.
Right.
That photograph, you just send it in 3 months. Again, is it something changed? Yeah, that's a significant change. And this brings up a really good point, and I know I'm starting to fly off.
No, you're good. You're good.
But photographs are a static representation of a dynamic process. So this is a snapshot of what we see.
Yep.
And so what we're doing is to say, it is my professional assessment and experience that when we see this, we can expect this to happen. Sometimes skin cancer develops in a completely benign spot, and they say, well, I got a biopsy that. They said it was okay. Well, it more than likely was okay when they did the biopsy before, but something else has occurred in this area, or this has evolved and now it's something different. So that's why we like for people to give them immediate peace of mind, but also say, just keep an eye on it. You'll
Right.
know. You'll know.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, really cool. So I have more questions, but I want to get to kind of the crux of your solution. And we touched on it, but we didn't really dive in, right? So when we look at healthcare and the broken healthcare system that we have, and people are, in functionally uninsured plans. If you're spending $40,000 a year and you don't have access to a physician for 6 months, I would say that's functionally uninsured.
Right.
Or if you're in a plan that, you're making $30,000 a year, you're basically just above the poverty level or at the poverty level, and you have a high deductible plan with a $3,000 deductible before you can access care, you are functionally uninsured.
Right.
And so the majority of our focus is on helping employers and people understand how to do better. And the way to do better in the name of the game is you have to pay attention and you have to focus on claims. So it's not about having a magic card in your pocket that you can bring to a physician or a hospital or a medical facility and show them and pay your fair share of whatever that plan says that you ought to pay, without really fully appreciating what is the true cost? What is this really costing? Because on the back end, if your fair share, let's say you're in a rich plan and affordability is not a problem and you're paying $1,500 out of pocket, no one wants to pay $1,500. I don't care how much money you have, but it's not going to change your life, but that's what you're focused on, the $1,500. But on the back end, that $1,500 represents $150,000 surgery that you could have gotten for $20,000 with equally good care. Now we're talking about a problem, right? Because you're hemorrhaging cash, and even though your share is only $1,500, your organization is responsible for that. Whether you're in a fully insured plan and the insurance is quote unquote covering it,
Right.
or you're in a self-funded plan and the employer plan sponsor is responsible, you're affecting all of your colleagues, all of your coworkers, and this is where we are, right? So your solution, if put into a self-funded plan, and what's the idea of a self-funded plan? A lot of folks that listen to this that are not in the know, one of the biggest problems that I have is if I talk to a CFO that is not really savvy when it comes to their healthcare plan. And, you can make an argument and say, well, why should they? They're focused on their profession, what they do every day. Well, they should be, because healthcare is likely the number one expense after payroll.
Right.
And they have to become experts at that. We have folks that are, running large organizations that are, managing their office supply spend down to the fraction of a penny on a paperclip. And yet they're not focused on their healthcare spend, which literally can produce millions of dollars and drop it to their bottom line. And it's not to say that these organizations should take that money and put it in their pocket, but maybe they could reinvest that in their people and make their expenditures and their out-of-pockets less and more accessible. So talk to me a little bit about the idea of an employer adopting CheckMySpot as a strategy to mitigate costs. And what did the Validation Institute study show?
So you make such excellent points there. With health expenditure being one of the major business costs, that's your HR investment. That's your people. That's your resource that's producing for you. So if you can keep them well and happy, this is a great way to find the most cost-efficient way to do it. And there's a tremendous amount of waste, as you're well familiar with. What we do, and what we're saying, first and foremost, has already been proven in medical literature. Catch a spot early, outcomes are better, costs are less. It's well known and has been for 25 years. That's been beaten down. But how do you apply that into a business sense? Well, again, non-melanoma skin cancer is not reported. So there are hidden costs in somebody's book, a corporation's book, that they're paying for unnecessarily because this problem's been allowed to advance when it shouldn't. So what we see, and this is what the Validation Institute saw, and I broke this down on an RVU pattern. I told you I was a math major, and I loved it. And Al got it right away. He came out of his seat almost, and he was like, "Oh, I love this." And I was like, "No, thank you, Al. This is finally somebody's getting it."
Yeah.
But you have an employee, you get them in sooner, they're going to be better physically. They're going to not go to the doctor as often, but they're going to know with peace of mind their spot's okay. They're staying and working, and your productivity and bottom line is going to be improved indirectly. But most importantly, if that's that 1 out of 5 that's caught early, we're looking at over almost a 10% or above treatment costs directly to take care of that spot when you catch it in an early phase. So in my mind, the smart corporations, the smart employers, the smart HR folks, and they're coming around, they get it. I was at this recent conference and the light bulb went off.
Yeah.
Let's get our people to be their own screeners, their own health advocates, and then we'll cover it. We'll pay for it. It's a nominal cost.
I'm laughing, Mike, because I'm picturing like employees taking pictures.
I would love it. I would love it. Listen, you would believe, we would never see this. We would never see this.
He's holding up that coaster again.
Yeah, we would never. Don't want to see that anymore. But they'll save on their bottom line. And here's the beauty: 3 out of 5 of 1,000 employee pool are going to have a melanoma. Left unchecked, 1 out of 10 of those melanomas are going to go to an advanced stage. And when I say advanced stage, you're looking at $750,000 to $1.5 million, especially with new pharmacology that's come out. And who's going to be able to deny? No one's going to deny someone potentially life-extending therapies, but they're new and out there, and they're very expensive. All could have been avoided with a simple click of a picture and a less than $1,000 on your claim.
Amazing.
So we see this mitigating this catastrophic claim. You're going to save on some of your stop loss activation that you're going to have, which is not going to be good for your bottom line also.
Right.
This is the smart way. And you've got what a great way to say, we care so much about you, we want you looking at yourself, and we're going to make sure you and your skin stay healthy. This is the power that I see to change with people who are aligned in this kind of thinking. Like something's got to give here. We got to do better on the earlier side of this. Dermatology happens to be a great way. Everybody is a skin expert.
Right.
They are. And especially they're their own skin expert or their own family, because 2/3 of what I see, the spouse has discovered. I saw this spot on her. She turned over. We were at the beach. She turned over and I said, "You've not had that spot on your leg."
Right.
And then that's how that comes in the clinic.
Yeah.
Or I've been telling him for 6 months that spot on his cheek is something to worry about. I had one in the corner of my eye here 3 years ago. I didn't see it because I wear glasses often. And she goes, "You got a spot on your eye."
What?
I was like, "Yeah." She goes,
This is in a weird spot.
Well, my glasses cover it, but I have my glasses off, and I don't usually see myself up close with my glasses because I haven't seen that spot. And I said, "You're right." So it's a basal cell, and it right here in the corner of the eye here. If you had a zoom, you could see it.
So did you operate on yourself?
No.
He did operate on me. He did a great job. I had a basal cell.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's very common. I mean, we're both fair-eyed, fair skin, blue-eyed.
So it brings me to a question, but before I go there, so I just want to kind of close the loop, because what I'm hearing is if we have a self-funded employer, and getting back to my point earlier, I hate, or finishing the thought, I hate the term self-insurance, because any CFO that I speak to who's not in the know, and there's no knock on a CFO again, they're focused on their business, they're not focused on the business of insurance and healthcare. They perceive that phrase as being inherently more risky than being in a fully insured model. Right. And so it's a misnomer, because that is nothing further can be from the truth. Now, if you are self-insured and you don't have the proper risk mitigation, then yes, you can be exposed. But the reality is, the name of the game is claims.
Right.
80% of your premiums are claims. And in a fully insured plan, you have no mechanism for it. And in a self-funded plan, in an ASO arrangement with a major insurance carrier, you might as well be in a fully insured plan. You have no mechanism for cost containment. But along comes your solution, and here we now are essentially, we're taking CheckMySpot and we're moving it outside of the traditional healthcare ecosystem,
Right.
so that there's nothing hitting the actuarial table, if you will,
Right.
with respect to anyone that uses your solution, until, if it is an issue, then okay, there needs to be an intervention, perhaps a surgery. But if you're getting it early and you're heading it off of the pass, so to speak, we could potentially be saving a lot of money.
Yes. And I think that's what Al recognized early when he came back with even the downstream effects, like you're mentioning.
Yeah.
If you also, there are other indirect effects that are employee based. There's a high attrition rate for advanced melanoma. You're going to lose that skilled person out of your workforce, and you're going to have to replace them and shift. So there's other indirect costs that occur when a disease like cancer, and in my case, melanoma or other deadly forms of skin cancer, are allowed to progress without catching and intervening early.
Right.
So,
Right.
So we're basically reducing the frequency and the severity of claims because we're keeping the benign spots out altogether until they need treatment.
that's where she's coming. See,
That's to be by him. So
yeah.
we're keeping, anyway, I say we reduce the severity and the frequency by keeping the benign spots out of the clinic altogether until they need to be seen, and by catching the serious ones early, which reduces the expense of those costs drastically, as we've been talking about.
100%. So one of the brightest guys that I know in the business, his head is already big enough; it can't get much bigger. But his name is Craig Lack,
Yeah.
and he's just a guy that is super smart and just someone that pursues excellence. And he's the first person that I ever heard say those words: frequency and severity of claims. That is the name of the game. Lots of, quote unquote, insurance brokers will be out there and they have shiny object syndrome, and they're always pushing the next shiny object. Or they could just be talking about healthcare plan design and HSAs and HRAs and all these other, solutions that were concocted by the insurance carriers. And Craig would say, just ask your broker a very simple question: how does this reduce the frequency and severity of claims? And 9.9 out of 10 times, they don't have a good answer for that. But it's precisely what your product is doing. And so I applaud you. It's incredible. So I have to ask you, I'm going to put you on the spot again and make you blush. So part of the issue that I've had personally with dermatologists, and this is just my experience, you can have a good dermatologist who's very good at identifying, something that's suspect, and their knowledge may be incredible, but when it comes to removing something from your body and then sewing you back up, they're not plastic surgeons. And I've seen some real butcher jobs out there. And so how does the audience kind of figure that piece of it out? And man or woman, if you have something on your face that is going to require surgery, is there ever a point where, as a surgeon, you might say, hey, it would be better to have a plastic surgeon do this or assist? Or how does that, because at the end of the day, you could be physically maiming someone for life, right? Scarring them.
Well, and that has a tremendous impact on self-esteem down the road, and that is a disease state in many considerations. Your better dermatologists will make that assessment for you, and most of your better dermatologists provide the option to have a closure with plastic surgery. In the field of dermatology, we have a board certification for micrographic or dermatologic surgery. And these are folks who've been doing really more reconstructions with skin surgeries than some of the other specialties like plastic surgery. So I have a very good relationship with the plastic surgeon that we work in. We work in concert on several cases. My barometer, or my thermometer, I should say, when is it time to refer? First of all, if the patient says, "What about plastic surgery?" and I'll say, "I'm happy to close this, but if you want, we'll send you over to Russ. He's terrific. And if that's more comfortable for you, then I want the best outcome for you." So
Right.
Dermatology, the better dermatologists and experienced dermatologists in surgery are board certified, or they've had years of experience before this subspecialty was.
But Mike, when you make that referral to Russ,
Yeah.
do you lose out? Are you losing
So,
money, like for selfish reasons?
Yeah. The short answer is no, because I'm that person's skin manager. And if they know I have what's in their best interest, the long play is to keep them satisfied and happy, and they'll be back for plenty of other procedures. And, from that standpoint, that doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah.
Russ and I will compete who's better. I'll tell him right out. I said, "Russ, I think I did a better job than you do." And he'll look back and go, "Wow, you're crazy," But
Right.
but that's the sort of communication you want, with your colleagues, and that you want your dermatologist to have with your colleagues, with their own colleagues, so that your best interest is put first.
Can you ballpark it? And I don't know if this is even possible, but if I started a question and said the majority of skin cancer surgery costs for cash price is a range.
Yeah. So, and in this business, there's contractual reductions and multiple fee.
Oh boy.
So
Don't get me started.
I know it sends me into orbit. I was a liaison for one of the BUCA, the derm liaison, and we used to. I used to blush often at the table with them.
No, I'm not talking about the negotiated contracted
No,
price.
no, I know.
I'm talking about the cash price.
Well, I'm gonna bring this full circle. So again, it depends on what kind of overhead you're running. Can you do it, and what kind of overhead are you going to make? Roughly, and it also depends on the size of the tumor and the amount of resources available for reconstruction.
Sure.
Time being the biggest one, and when you're doing it. But the average cost, probably cash around, is $400 to $600 to take something out and reconstruct it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's if you actually receive that amount of money.
Yeah.
Direct contracting, and this is what we've been working with down in our ecosystem, a very forward-thinking industry in the Tuscaloosa area is involved with direct contracting, and they say, "We prefer to do this. It's much simpler. It's cleaner. Everyone wins." And we've helped facilitate that in our dealings with them. And I'm happy to do it. I think everybody wins in this situation. As a dermatologist and a provider for 30 years, if I have a corporation come up to me and say, "Hey, I want to set up a direct contract," I said, let's go. Let's figure it out. I don't want to deal with all of these sudden surprises, claim denials, spending dollars to chase nickels. Let's get rid of that, and let's just go back to how it used to be, essentially a handshake over a barrel and get the job done.
Right.
And I think most of your better doctors would love to see that happen also, but it's the 800-pound gorilla.
Yeah.
You have to. Are you willing to make that leap and do that? I see it as a direction that progressive minds and forward-thinking minds are heading.
Well, so the other side of this, though, is that cash price surgery that you just suggested for $400 to $600. What most people don't realize is that the contracted discounted rate through the insurance carrier might be 3 or 4 times or more for that same exact procedure. And then, the doctor is getting strung along, waiting for payment. It's a nightmare.
Yeah.
And so, we're really gotten so far off the beaten path and so far away from what that insurance card once represented. Was that once upon a time, you were getting a discount.
Yeah.
But, then docs and hospitals are waiting forever to get paid, and reimbursements and chasing money. And so sometimes, most times cash is king.
Yeah. It's a headache, and it is a forward way of thinking. I would love to see a lot of it reintroduced into the market share. I think most physicians, including myself, would welcome a change like that.
And so I guess in closing, while this certainly benefits self-funded employers, employers in general, I think, could benefit because whether you're fully insured or self-funded, if you can get stuff off of your claims, spreadsheet, you're a winner. But you don't need to be part of a business or an organization, an employee. This is something that you could just go out there and download this right away, right?
Yeah.
We started out direct to consumer.
Yeah.
That was our original plan, and we quickly realized that that's a really difficult mess of fish to catch.
Yeah.
It's just too big, and the customer acquisition cost was really high. But yes, short answer is anybody we're live in 5 states.
Right
5
now.
states.
Mhm.
Anybody in those 5 states can get on the CheckMySpot app and send a spot in.
What are those states?
Alabama, Georgia, Mississippi, Tennessee, and Montana.
Yeah. Florida. Did you
And
say
Florida. I forgot. Sorry, Florida.
Yeah, we're growing we have a growth strategy, and we will be expanding quickly,
Yeah.
particularly with this recent traction and interest. But our growth protocol and process as we enter a new region. One, we have to make sure that we have licensed providers in that particular state, and it is a state level
regulated.
is how we do
Yeah.
it. So we have to make sure that we meet state regulations. We like to introduce ourselves to the state medical board to say, hey, this is who we are. This is what we are. We're very mission specific. We're on the up. We're not trying to cannibalize or disrupt your whole way of doing things here. We're very compliant with that. And then we like to, when we bring on that state, and we will bring on states for corporations that are interested.
Mm-hmm.
We then have a meeting with them to discover their risk assessment and what they desire. We have a conversation, and we're looking for partnerships that are built off of trust and transparency. I'll say this is what your risk is for your employee population, and this is what we can cover that for you. And our cost models, we have PEPM models, we have hybrid models, and each of those are profitable, and that's what Al has validated for us. And then we will set up, if they have a specific, and this is what we did for that forward-thinking corporation, we want to send our people here. Then I'll have a conversation with them, and they'll, just like I told you, most folks, when they hear it broken down like that, or say, yeah, I want to be a part of that. Most physicians. Getting rid of that multiple fee procedure reduction is, that is like the one thing that causes my colleagues to beat their head against the wall, because they have no way to operate as a business when these things get put upon them. They're trying to do what's right, and then all of a sudden they invest a lot of resources, and it comes back at a 25-35% payment for how they've invested their resources, and they don't know what to do.
Yeah, there's too many hands in the cookie jar.
Exactly.
And,
Exactly.
folks that signed up to do good for their patients
That's right.
are being spread too thin and bogged down under bureaucracy and billing, and it's a nightmare.
Yeah.
So, well, hey, I have to applaud the two of you. Folks, this is a dynamic duo, to be sure,
Yeah.
but incredibly... I'm incredibly humble that you're here, that you took the trip from Alabama to be with us. Picked a beautiful day too. And in terms of your solution, what could you say? It's you're literally putting the power in people's hands to change their lives.
Yeah.
And we didn't even kind of touch on maybe folks that have a hard time to get to a doctor, maybe the elderly and the indigent, and
Exactly.
right?
Nursing home patients,
Exactly.
assisted living,
There's so many
rural healthcare.
so many applications where boom, like snap a photo, send it to someone who knows, like a board certified dermatologist.
Yeah.
Let them take a look, and it could change your life.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
That's
Mike
what-
has always said that if he take care of the patient first, do the right thing, and everything else takes care of itself. And
Yeah.
Check
From a-
MySpot's just another extension of that.
Yeah, that's the business model. And really, to summarize, our phrase, and I like to put this up in front of HR personnel and corporations, are empowering access, preserving productivity, and saving lives.
Yeah, love it. Love
Thank you
it.
so much for having us.
Yeah,
I never thanked
yeah.
you when we first started, so thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
The pleasure is mine, and really, I've learned a lot, and I know that our audience has learned a lot. It's incredible what you're up to. I wish you nothing but the absolute best of success. So, one last thing is just how do people find you?
Yeah. So one thing I want to interject first,
Sure.
very quickly.
Yeah.
None of this is possible without a great team that we have working with us. I want to shout out to Frank Cohn. He's a 30-year veteran. He is our strategy and growth advisor, 30-year veteran.
What's up, Frank?
Yeah. Along with Scott Frederick and Loke Nandy, our tech guys. So
Right
none
on.
of this could happen without all those folks.
We do have a really good team. We have a good time.
Yeah.
And work hard.
Yeah.
Takes a village.
But easy, you can go to Apple App Store, Google Play, download Check My Spot app for free. You'll see it has a little hand with a check mark on it.
Yep.
You can go to the website, checkmyspot.com, to learn more. And then we've got some social media presence too, with just sort of educational materials that show up on that. Same thing, Check My Spot.
Cool. CheckMySpot.com.
Yep.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Check My Spot. Go out there, download the app. It's easy peasy. It's something that could literally save your life. It's really worthwhile. I'm surprised this hasn't been done sooner, but remarkable. Thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate
Thank you.
it.
We enjoyed it.
It's an honor. Thank you.
Till
Ray.
next time, folks. Love always. Take care.
All right, that's a wrap. Hit like, follow, and subscribe, and we'll catch you next time.